Hello and welcome to the Creative Phebe Cooks channel, where we grow together to become more knowledgeable and confident cooks. I'm Phoebe, your host, cook, and food photographer, and thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much for just, clicking on this video. It means a lot. If you're returning, I appreciate you as well. Hey, you saw in the thumbnail what this video was going to be about, and yes, we're making some stuffed pumpkin. The ingredients I used in this is absolutely such a great combination, and I cannot wait for you to try it out. It is an absolute crowd pleaser for, hint, Thanksgiving. That's why this recipe is a Thanksgiving special. It is unintentionally 100% plant-based. That means, you don't have to worry about who's eating what and if they'll be okay with it, unless if they don't like pumpkin, which might be an issue. Other than that, hey, let's get to cooking. Let me know if you have any comments below about this recipe. I would love to hear it. Be sure to like this video as well, because it helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and share it. Share it with all your loved ones, especially if they're going to be participating in making this recipe, because there are different parts to it. But it's cool. You're going to love it. So hey, I'm hungry. I know you are too. You want to make something good, and let's get to cooking. All right, let's do it. We're going to need 2 mixing bowls to measure out our dry ingredients. Let's zero out the scale and measure out 220 grams of dry green split peas. You may also use yellow split peas if you prefer. We need 170 grams of bulgur wheat. I'm using fine grade 1. You may use between 1 and 3. The range between fine to coarse. Now here we're washing our split peas. We're doing this so that it's absolutely clean, and we're preparing it so we can make our filling, which is what we're going to stuff our pumpkins with. Let's set it aside to soak for an hour. Let's add 390 ml of boiling water to our bulgur wheat and cover it with cling film so it cooks in the steam. Set it aside for an hour. Now let's prepare our butternut squash. We're going to cut it in half. But you also may opt to use acorn squash, spaghetti squash, kabocha squash, whatever squash you prefer to make this recipe your own. But I love butternut squash because I know that the flavor blends well with the filling for this recipe. Now it's going to be a little bit of a work to cut it open, but once you get through it, this is how it looks. Let's put it in our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 200 degrees Celsius. And let's scoop out the seeds from our pumpkins to get them all ready and clean for us to bake them. You may want to save those pumpkin seeds to roast them after all of your hard work so you can enjoy and be merry. Now let's season our pumpkins with some coarse kosher salt, a drizzle of olive oil. You may also use coconut oil, whatever you have on hand, as long as it's a natural oil. Let's rub in those seasonings so that they begin to penetrate the flesh of our squash, and cover it with foil so that it will speed up the cooking process. Now let's bake it for an hour while we prepare our aromatics. We're going to chop up 5 garlic cloves, as well as 1 yellow onion, about 230 grams of that. We also have some habanero peppers, about 8 grams, together with 50 grams of curly kale. You may also use lacinato kale, also known as dinosaur kale. You can set all those aside to make our filling. Let's melt 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. You may use olive oil, and let us swirl it to coat the bottom of our skillet. Let's add in our aromatics, which would be the onions, the habanero peppers, the garlic, and 1 teaspoon of coarse kosher salt. Let's stir and saute our aromatics and allow them to cook for about 4 to 5 minutes together with our 2 dried bay leaves. Hey, if you're new to cooking, this is such a great base for any recipe, mainly for soups or stews. So if you do not know where to start, I would advise that you start with this step. Now let's add in our split peas, which soaked for about an hour. Also a great tip to apply to any dry grains that you cook with. After sauteing the split peas together with the aromatics for 5 minutes, we added in water, which was 360 ml, together with 225 grams of the cooked bulgur wheat that we made earlier on. Now it's not the entirety of it, it's just a portion of it. All right, so we're gonna stir that, cover it with a lid, and allow it to cook for 15 minutes. Now that our pumpkin is all done, let's make sure it's all done by piercing the flesh with a fork or a skewer to make sure it is all done. It should be soft and tender. Let's keep an eye on our filling, make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of our pot, and add in our chopped kale. Now here, we're almost done. We're literally almost done. We just need to give it a taste to make sure all of our seasonings are at the right amount and that the filling tastes great, because after this step, there is no going back. Let's cook this for about 3 minutes, turn it off, and open the pot about a little bit halfway to allow the filling to cool before we stuff our pumpkins. Now let's use a spoon to scoop out as much flesh from our pumpkin boats, but enough to make sure that it's still in its right form to hold our filling during the baking process as well as when we're eating it. Now I'm storing this pumpkin away so I can make some pumpkin pancakes and, probably eat it like mashed pumpkin. Let's fill up our pumpkin boats with our filling, making sure that we divide the portion between the two of them as evenly as possible. You may opt to sprinkle on some Gouda cheese, and let's bake it for about 25 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Now while we're waiting for that to bake, here's a snippet of what to expect in our next episode. We're making some cinnamon powder for all of your recipes you'll be making during this holiday season, so watch out for that. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Just check out how these stuffed pumpkins turned out. I am so excited to hear your comments about how it turned out for you and what you served it with. If you need tips, here's what to serve it with: brown rice, a nice portion of salad, or you can just have it like that by itself. Let me know in the comments how it turned out for you, and I know you're gonna love it. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I bet you love this recipe. You cannot wait to make it, to fill up your kitchen and your home with all of the beautiful aromas. But hey, look, if you really enjoyed this video, you're definitely gonna like watching one of these. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.